This week on Gunn On One, I had the opportunity to speak to Hall of Famer and Eagles legend Brian Dawkins about the Birds' current 0-2 start. We talk about what the team may be lacking, Carson's performance, the offensive play calling, and of course, I got to hear what he thinks about the current defense. We also chat about his career success, regrets, and what it felt like to receive a ring as a member of the Super Bowl champion Eagles team front office. Lastly, we speak about his past mental health struggles and the formation of the Brian Dawkins Impact Foundation. Get ready, Weapon X is about to tell it like it is on this edition of Gunn On One. Good day, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of Gunn On One. I'm Derrick Gunn, and oh my goodness, the Eagles. I don't know what to think about this team right now. For a second week in a row, they have thoroughly disappointed everybody who's a Philadelphia Eagles fan. Nobody on this planet thought that the Birds would start out at 0-2. And so we're going to try to break down what has happened to the Eagles as of late. And I brought in an expert, and I couldn't have brought in a better expert than my guest for this particular episode of Gunn On One. You guys know him well. He was a 9-time Pro Bowler, 5-time first team All-Pro, and Hall of Famer. He is a colleague, and more importantly, he is a good friend of mine. I am so elated to have this man, number 20, Brian Dawkins on Gunn On One. How you doing, my brother?
I'm absolutely blessed. Absolutely blessed. Let's get into it, man. We got some things to talk about.
All right, 0-2. How shocked are you that this team is 0-2 right now?
Very shocked. I'm very shocked that this team is 0-2. There's a lot of optimism about this season. We had some guys coming back. Obviously, Carson being in, at the quarterback position, healthy. There's a lot of optimism on the offensive side of the ball with the weapons, and people were talking about all those things. But here we find ourselves at 0-2. And so, it's a very frustrating place, let me tell you that. And I was frustrated to watch the beginning of the game this past week because, last week against Washington, you came out, played like we thought you would play, put up points, defense, you did what you were supposed to do early in the game. But then all of a sudden, you didn't come out with no juice in this game. I didn't see it. I didn't recognize the juice. And I know the offense fumbled the ball right away. And so that puts your defense on the field. But that just makes your job harder. It doesn't make it impossible. Meaning that just because the offense turns the ball over, the special teams turns the ball over, doesn't mean we have to give up 7 points. So giving up all those points, the same thing last week against Washington. Turnovers happen. You give up points as a defense on the side of the ball. And that then forces the offense to do other things outside of just having a balanced attack. And so there's a lot of things we want to talk about. I don't want to get in all of it in the beginning of this, man, but I was very frustrated in the beginning to see the lack of energy that I saw.
What do you think this team in general is lacking right now? I mean, I don't want to push the panic button, but you know how Philadelphia fans are. But what do you think this team's lacking right now?
First of all, there is no panic button. This is the second game of the season. I know there's frustration. Like I said, I'm frustrated. But panic, there is no such thing as panic this early in the season for a football team when you have so many games yet to be played. But I would say that I don't see that fire, like that juice coming back home after losing that game to Washington, the way you lost it to Washington and you come back home. And so when you come back to the league, I know that there are no fans there, but you bring your own juice, right? You bring your own juice, just like practice. We go out to do scrimmages and whatnot. We bring our own juice, offenses against defenses. We're usually talking trash back and forth, but you bring your own juice. So we don't need the fans. We love them, don't get me wrong, but you don't need them to have juice. You bring your own internal juice to bring to that game. It seems like the Rams had that juice. Like they had that fire. They had that everything that you expected the Eagles to have. The Rams had it. And so, off the bat, that is what is missing right now. that true, not fake juice. I'm not talking about you just pretending to be something. I'm talking about that inside fire and push and desire to go out and not just make the play you're supposed to make, but make spectacular plays. So tackles sometimes just don't get it. Making a tackle on defense, in my mindset, it wasn't always good enough. I have to go above that. I have to go, let's call some fumbles. We saw what happened on special teams. A tackle would have been nice there. You'd have been inside the 10-yard line. But no, he caused a fumble on that play. And that helped the offense get into a rhythm. So you got to start thinking outside of the box as far as that is concerned as well.
Over the three previous seasons, Carson Wentz has averaged 7 interceptions per season. He already has 4 in 2 games. In your estimation, is he trying to do too much?
I believe he is. I believe that when you have a quarterback coach in Doug that's going to say, hey, we're going to be aggressive, which is cool. I understand it. But you have to have a quarterback in place to make decisions, good decisions in those situations. Mm-hmm. Well, last week against Washington, 2 balls thrown back in towards the field. As a defensive back, I love that. For a quarterback to throw the ball back in towards the field on cuts, that gives me the ability to what? Jump in front and make plays. Did it last week. This week, you throw the ball back across the field and 2 traffic into coverage after having a long drive that you're actually having momentum on your side, and that's what you do in the red zone. Like, these are things you expect from a young quarterback. Carson is no longer a young quarterback. So in my mind, he's trying to do too much. So sometimes you have to take that out of his hands as a coach to do more things. They start doing more short passes, which is great. You get the ball out of Carson's hand, because some of the sacks against Washington last week was on Carson because he was holding on to the ball too long. So you have to get rid of the football, get them to your playmaker, and allow them to have success. And then the other thing is, man, run the ball. And this is something we've been talking about for a long time with this team, but run the ball, especially now. Give Carson a little more balance to allow him to come off of the play action to find guys upfield.
I hate to say this, and you tell me if I'm wrong, but I think in his 5th year in the NFL now, Carson has plateaued. You know, we were hoping he would be this super franchise quarterback, and he's still a young man. But I think right now, as we look at Carson Wentz, this is what he is. This is who he's going to be. It's going to be hot and cold. I don't know if we're ever going to see that elite status Carson Wentz as an NFL quarterback.
I don't think he's plateaued. I believe there's still things he can learn and get better at. One of them is accuracy. Like, the accuracy or the lack thereof in the first 2 games is something that has to be corrected. And so whatever conversations need to be had, whatever extra film study needs to be done in order to get him on the, whatever accountability needs to be had to talk to him, to let him know that you're putting, first of all, your receivers in harm's way when you throw the ball high across the middle, which he's doing way too much. Mm-hmm. And then there's opportunities to keep the drives moving, and he's still selling the ball. A lot of times that's being too excited, being too jazzed up a little bit. Donovan used to do that a little bit early in the games, early on in the games, where he would, throw the ball high or throw it into the dirt because he was so excited. But so at this time, he has to learn to calm down. But again, that goes back to the coach as well, though. Like, you have to begin to call plays in such a way to not have 3rd and long be always a thing that your quarterback is asked to do. He's had success in the past. You see, that's one of the I won't say down things about it. He has done it in the past where they would get behind the chains. I think about 2 years ago, the Eagles led the league in 3rd down conversions, I believe, in like 3rd and long situations. A lot of it was because of Carson Wentz being able to make people miss, use time and then find guys down the field. But then you can't always depend on that. You have to get in a better rhythm offensively to allow him to, once again, be in 3rd and short situations until he gets into a flow. Once he gets into a flow, you can let him have it a little bit. But if he starts struggling again, you have to then put it back into the offensive line's hands, run the ball a little bit more.
I don't think he will ever admit it as a player, but I wonder if the success of what Nick Foles had here in Philadelphia weighs on him. Nick Foles wins this organization its only and first ever Super Bowl. Carson Wentz has yet to win a playoff game. That's got to weigh heavily on an individual, would you think?
Absolutely. Absolutely. When you have had success, and he has had success, but you have not had the ultimate success, which Nick came in and did so wonderfully for the team and the city, that is a huge amount of pressure on you. And not only that, he hasn't the season being healthy throughout a season is still a struggle for him at times. So that's something else that can play in your mind. Now, you don't have to buy into it as a player, but believe me, that is something that probably creeps into your thoughts every once in a while. But you have to have a strong enough mindset to not play to that. There's so many other things to play towards, not to just play towards that. I'm not going to play to do that. I'm playing this because my teammates count on me, because my coaches count on me, because I can do it, first of all. And then as I then handle the things that I can handle, control, don't turn the ball over, make great decisions, those wins begin to mount, and then you begin to have the success in the playoffs.
What do you think of Doug Pederson's play calling and decision making?
Well, at this point, you know he's going to go for it, like on fourth downs and different situations like that. That's just who he is. Again, you put that into the quarterback's hands if he does do that. You can't turn the ball over. You can't give offenses short fields. I'm of someone that I love to run the football. Like I love, especially for an offensive line that's been banged up, that's been hurting a little bit. One of the hardest things to do is to drop back, is to play basically defense as you pass protecting. Let those guys come off. Become, that year that we won the Super Bowl, what did we become for a certain period of time with LeGarrette Blount? Like we became some bullies is what we became, punishing people. And then what it began to do is it began to open up passing lanes because he had more room to throw off of play action passes. So now, like, I don't really fall for play action pass because, like, you really aren't committed to running the ball. And I know that as a defensive player. But if you commit to that and we begin to pound you, ground you, kind of like the Rams kind of did yesterday. Against us in the game. Commit to that run. Commit to it. And so now when you start creeping more guys towards the box, or guys in their minds mentally begins to creep towards the box, I got to get up and help. Now you begin to hit them across their head with the boots and the reverses and all those things. But your gadgets they don't always work when you don't have that commitment to the run. That's just my humble opinion.
All right, let's move over to your expertise, this defense. I thought the defense would come out of the gates and be the foundation of this team early on in the season. But through 2 games, man, it's a lot of cracks in the armor. It looks like a bunch of Keystone Cops running around back there. Are you surprised at the lack of cohesiveness right now with this defense?
I am. Not like totally surprised. We did lose some guys in the offseason, but I am, because you have veteran guys there. This is not like a young group for the most part. There's a bunch of veteran guys in there who have been together for the most part. And so when that happens, you should be able to bond quicker. And even the way of taking the field after a turnover, like when you take the field after a turnover, there's a mindset that you have as you run on the field. Like don't even jog on the field. Let's sprint on the field together. That if anything, they're gonna get 3 points. And it's not a guarantee they're gonna get 3 points. But right now, if you're a team playing against the Eagles, when you return the ball over, it's 7 points. Because that's what the defense, listen, we've given up 60 something points in 2 games?
Yep.
Something like that. There's no way you win ball games like that. So, everybody wants to put everything on Carson, and there's a lot of, I guess, blame to go around, so to speak. But you have to, as a defense, I'm just speaking as a defensive player now. Like, I'm embarrassed. If I'm in a locker room, I'm embarrassed right now out of what we have put on the field, giving up all those yards, and not just yards. Yards don't win games. What wins games is when you let them get yards into the red zone, then you give up points. Or if their turnover happens, you give up points. That's one of the things that they were extremely good at, I think, in years past, of not giving up those points. Yes, turnovers happen. Yes, drives happen. But we're gonna buckle down and not give you only 3 points. When you're giving up 7 after 7 after 7, those are the things that have to cease. They're going to have to find a way to cause those things to just be 3 points and not continue to give up 7 points on a consistent clip. Excuse me.
You worked with this organization for 3 years in the front office, and people are screaming about this in particular. Why doesn't this organization put a premium on linebackers? You look at the better defenses in the National Football League, and they have one or two thumpers playing linebackers. Linebackers basically are the brains of a defense in a lot of ways. Why do you think that is with this organization?
Well, if you look at Schwartz in his career, even going back to his days, in Buffalo, he has a premium on the D line. So the D line usually has a bunch of guys that he can rotate in and out, and not so much of a premium on linebackers. And so that's been him for a while. Now, I'm not saying he didn't have dudes at those positions, but as a premium that we're going to make sure we pay specific positions, it's that D line. And right now, that D line, they're not doing what you would expect a D line to do, who has that much, confidence from their defensive coordinator. I'll say it like that. And so you're going to have guys, they're going to put linebackers that can call the defense. You don't have to be the best, most athletic dude on the field to call a defense. You just have to be smart to be able to see things. So they're going to put some guys back there that can call the defense and make some plays. But again, to me, the way that it's been for forever when it comes to Jim Schwartz is that the premium is set for that D line. So that D line, they have to eat. And it can't be just flex. He can't be the only one that continues to show up. Or he makes a play and then goes long periods of time because people are double him. So other people have to step up and make plays on a consistent basis. That's what makes a great defense, where you don't depend on one dude, two dudes, or three dudes to be the playmakers on a consistent basis throughout a game.
Give me your assessment of the safety play, moving Jalen Mills back to safety and playing with Rodney McLeod back there. What have you seen so far from them?
Well, they're making the tackles. They're making the tackle. You haven't seen any huge gains or the people busting through and getting the long gain. That's one of the first things that I pay attention to when it comes to tackles, safeties. Is can you tackle in space? A lot of people don't understand the significance of that, being able to get a dude down when people have either made mistakes or, hey, a guy just ran through some guys and get to that second level. So they've done an excellent job with that. It seems that they're doing a good job of communicating and making sure that on motions and the like, that they swap positions and the like. So they seem to be doing a good job from that respect. It goes to and this is for the whole defense. This is not just for the safeties. It has to go from, I know my job, I can do my job, to I'm going to do spectacular things as my jobs are being done. Mm-hmm. That's what needs to happen on this defense, is what I guess I'm trying to say. So even they haven't made mistakes. You don't see them make a lot of mental mistakes, which is great because they've been together, so they know the defense. But it has to go to that next level for all of them, that if the ball is around you, it is an opportunity for a turnover if you have the mindset to approach it that way.
Are you a fan of Jim Schwartz's scheme overall?
Some of it I am.
What don't you like about it?
I'm not a big fan of the picket fence third down. That's just not me. I'm an attack dude all the time. But I will say this when it comes to Jim. Jim, he sets up that defensive line especially to eat. So if you have guys up in that defensive line that can eat, they're going to eat, and they're going to eat on a consistent basis. Where I would have been frustrated as a player is that, my opportunities to come up and eat are small because of that. Because he depends on the rush so much and just has more guys in coverage the way that he wants to do it for the most part. He doesn't blitz a whole lot. That would have been frustrating for me. But as far as the success of it, the success goes from that D-line. I'm telling you, if the D-line is eating, if they're doing what they're supposed to do, then that defense will have success. If they are not, it's not. I'm not going to say they're going to struggle. I'm just going to tell you that it's going to be a lot of nail biting.
Okay.
If they don't.
All right. If Brian Dawkins were a defensive coordinator in the National Football League, what kind of scheme would he run?
Oh, I'm attacking, Jay. That's me.
Safeties blitzing all over the place?
No. it's not just safeties. I learned a lot from watching Jim, and you can see kind of Spags kind of doing that a little bit more of that in Kansas City, is using guys for all that they can do. So if you have a dude that is extremely versatile, I want to move that dude around to get him in as many opportunities to make plays as possible. When you look at any sport, baseball, basketball, the dude who has a higher percentage of wins or giving or creating points, they usually get him the ball the most. Right? Like baseball, you want your dude who's batting 300 to be up the majority of the time. If you could, you would love for that to happen, because that dude he's doing his thing. So if you have a dude that continuously wins in practice, he's constantly making plays, he's constantly turning the ball over in practice, you have to find a way to get different dudes involved in doing exactly what they do the best, whatever it is, so that they can then add to what you're doing on the defensive side of the ball. That is what Jim was outstanding with. He would find what you can do the best, and then he would orchestrate different defenses to break down the pass protection of the offense to get that person either one-on-one or free. But if you're one-on-one, then you have to have your repertoire of pass rush moves to get past that one defender, to win your battle so that you can off to the quarterback. So that is what, if I was a defensive coordinator, that is what I would do. Guys would love to play because they know if you can produce, I'm going to find a way to get you going.
In the bigger scheme of things, look at what the NFL has done. They started this season on time, when a lot of people thought the season would be delayed with this COVID thing that's been hovering over us now for almost half a year. Less than 1% of players, and you're talking about over 1,700 players, less than 1% were diagnosed with having COVID-19. How surprised are you when you consider the volume of players, coaches, training staff, front office personnel that's closely integrated on a daily basis, that here we are playing football?
Listening to all the things that they have to do, all the technology that they're using with their wrist watches and all those things to check your temperature and to check your if you do have it, who you were in the proximity of, so they can check those guys. They are so far ahead of thinking when it comes to how to not just, you can't prevent someone from getting it all the time, but what you can do is, if someone does have it now, see who they were around, the proximity, so that you can trace that individual. So the tracing of it is substantial. I'll say it like that. And that's why it's surprising for me, not just for not NFL, but for college, that they're doing it, because they don't have the resources, or they don't have the collective bargain agreement of how they're going to do things in a safe way to keep these young adults healthy. And so it doesn't surprise me that they started the season. And it's my prayer that nobody gets it and it affects them in a way that prevents them from being the version of themselves going forward that they can be if they didn't catch it.
69 players opted out this season. If you were still playing today, would you have opted out?
It really depends on where I was. I've said this before. It really depends on where I was. If my twins would have been born premature 2 months, and I had just come off of being home with them, spending basically doing the night feedings and all of those things, because my wife was going through some of the things she was going through, postpartum and the like. If I was dealing with that, I probably wouldn't have played that year. I definitely wouldn't have played that year, because I would have wanted to be home with my family, be home with my twins, who would have been in harm's way had I brought anything back home. So I would say it like that.
Stadiums eventually are going to open up. We saw the Dallas Cowboys had over 20,000 fans in their stadium on Sunday. Will you go to a game this year, or will you bypass it altogether for now?
I'm going to bypass it.
Okay.
Right now.
But you're healthy. You're safe. Why would you bypass it?
I can watch it from the house. And we talked about this last on the podcast a little bit. I don't know where you were. Yeah, you were.
Yes.
When I talked about on my the Brian Dawkins chat.
Yep.
So the first part of this year, I spent the 3 days in the hospital. The first part of this year with the flu.
Right.
So, and it was prior to that. I went down to Arizona to see see the Clemson play,
Mm-hmm.
and on the plane somewhere along the way, I caught the flu, and like I was out of it for 2 days, and I said finally, this thing is not, whatever this is, it's not leaving.
Mm-hmm.
I better get to the hospital, and then I spent 3 days there, and so I have asthma.
Yeah.
I have asthma, so I inhalers and taking the puffs and all that stuff. Yes, I do all of that from time to time. And now you get into the hospital situation where you're getting some fluid in your lungs. I can't take a deep breath without coughing, on top of having asthma, which makes my asthma even worse, that I can't that I can't breathe. And that's a scary situation. So dealing with that, knowing that part of me, there's no way that I would go out and chance my health off of something that I don't have to do. I don't have to go to games. I can watch them from the comfort of my home and be as safe as possible there. But I don't have to go out. So no, I wouldn't. This is me now. I can't speak for anybody else. This is me. I would not go out.
Well, when you put it like that's understandable. Now, I want to talk about Brian Dawkins, the man who played the game. In all the years I've known you, you played the game angry, a heat-seeking missile. Where did that come from?
The what?
The angry Brian Dawkins, the volatile angry Dawkins, the guy who people feared, Brian Dawkins.
Oh man, that comes from where I'm from, bro. Like Jacksonville, Florida, Duval. That's how I grew up, in the neighborhood that I grew up.
Yeah,
that's how you have to handle business. When you touch the field, that's how you handle the business. When you walk down the street, sometimes you got to handle some business. So that's a mentality that I grasped hold to and knew that I had to have in order to survive in sort of way in Jacksonville, Florida. So and the coaches, man, like we would do different. Man, we would do some crazy tackling drills growing up. People always talk about Oklahoma. No, we would also do, Jack, where you stand up 10 yards, 5 to 10 yards from somebody,
right.
Let them run full speed and hit you, right? So you can get used to contact. That's the kind of crazy stuff that we would do in Pop Warner. So yeah, like the mindset is just different, man. Growing up, the way that we were coached, the way that we were taught, like the mindset was just different. So, and then you add that to who I am, the energy that I possess, the anger sometimes and that I have to deal with, that I didn't deal so well with at certain times when I was younger. Man, you add that to that, man, you got yourself a volatile situation potential.
All right, I want to read this quote from your former teammate, Jeremiah Trotter, and I want to quote it perfectly. He said, and he's talking about you, he was the hardest hitter on the team. He hits like a linebacker. He hurts people. He knocks them out. He's knocked himself out. He's knocked us out. Is that all true?
Yes. Yes. I have always seen the game being played one way. It's full speed, first of all.
Yeah.
And that's aggressively. That's why I've always called myself a contact safety. Like a lot of the success that I had has come through contact. Like I'm going to be contacting somebody. It's going to be a strong, nice contact if I had to say anything about it. So that's my mindset. And so when I touch the field and I have the game plan, I know what I'm supposed to do. I know what the game plan is. I understand the offense we're playing against, and I know how Jim is about to try to use me. Then it's about punishment. Like, see, that was my mindset. It's about punishment. Like if you, the more times that you stick your hand out, and someone pops it, what do? You snatch your hand back from a kid. You pop that hand. But it's the same thing on the field. The more times you run across that middle and I pop your behind, the less you're going to stick your arm out every time. And you're not going to want to run some of those plays later in the fourth quarter. And we might get an overthrow, a tip ball or something like that. So yeah, it was a mindset for me, man. It was really to get into your head. If I can get into your head to get you to think about that physical pop, then you're not thinking about your route. You're not thinking about your assignment.
You played the game for 16 years the only way you knew how to play the game. You walked away highly decorated. Any regrets? Anything when you look back and say, I wish I had done this a little bit differently?
The only regret that I would ever have is just not winning the Super Bowl as a player. That's the only regret. The other things, the mistakes that I've made, they have made me to be who I am. Like I can't take away the mistakes because again, I
Hmm.
am who I am because of the mistakes that I've had and those mistakes I have learned from to allow me to be the man that I am today. But I will, man, the on one regret is just not winning the championship.
Hmm.
I don't. You pick a year. I don't care what year. You just pick a year. You pick one of the years. One of those years we made it to the NFC Championship game, and the year we made it to the Super Bowl. One of those years that we just won one of those.
You won a ring though, or you got a ring as a front office executive with the Philadelphia Eagles. And I remember standing on that field with you, interviewing you after that game, and the tears welling up in your eyes. What did that moment mean to you? You're right. You didn't get to win that ring as a gladiator, but you still got to wear that ring as part of an organization that you gave, blood, sweat, and tears to.
Absolutely. Because I knew in that moment it was not just for me. My mind quickly went to all those letters that I've received from fans who said that the last request of their family member was to be buried in my jersey. So my thoughts quickly went to those individuals
Yeah.
who love the Eagles that much or love me that much that is something that they wanted. So I just knew that that was a load that was lifted, and so many celebrations would have been had all over in Philadelphia and throughout the world because
Right.
Eagles Nation is throughout the world. So there's so many people celebrating that victory together. So though I wasn't on the field with those guys to be out there playing with them, I was blessed to have a lot of conversations to help help create a culture to help that victory be won.
Here's what's eerie. I remember you and I standing on the practice field prior to that 2017 season, and you said, D Gun, this team is going to do something special. I'm like, what? What? You said, trust me. This team is going to do something special. And lo and behold, they won the Super Bowl that year. How did you know?
There is a caring aspect that goes to another level when you start playing for guys and you truly care about your teammates and you begin to hold one another accountable. First of all, you hold yourself to a higher standard of
Hmm.
practice preparation, and you then can now help other guys hold themselves to that same standard, or you hold them to that standard and then ask them to come where you are as a leader. So the leaders begin to grow. All the leaders begin to grow, but not just growing from a verbal standpoint, but they
Right.
begin to go out and do things. You can see them taking the words, taking the corrections, so to speak, and suggestions to do things a little different,
Mm.
to tweak this, to tweak that. And then they went out and began to do things on another level. And the care factor for that in that locker room began to grow. They began to bond on a different level. And you can just see it. There's other things that we were doing that I can't talk about because I was an executive then
Right.
and it's in my contract. But there's other things that were happening after practice that was helping everybody grow, not just the players that were practicing during the week. Everybody they were all growing physically and mentally in order to have the best team possible. So when you get that care factor, when your failure means that you are hurting people that you do not want to let down as a teammate,
Right.
then you really begin to play different. You really do. You don't do some of the dumb stuff off the field because you know
Hmm.
that's going to hurt that one. Maybe it's just one individual in the locker room that you do not want to let down. And if it's just that one, that's good enough. You hope it's more than that. But if you just have one dude in the locker room, I don't want to let Buddy down, man. I don't want to let Troy down, man. I don't want to let, Trot down. I don't, it was more than that for me.
Hmm.
But I'm saying if you just have that one dude, you begin to do things on another level. You begin to prepare on another level. And when you begin to prepare on another level, you can then ask others to prepare on the level that you're preparing. And guess what that's doing for them?
Hmm.
That's making them better. So that's what made them better. They
Hmm.
got better and better and better. And then they were playing their absolute best football at the right time, even though all the injuries were happening. None of that deterred them.
Hey, I came across something, and I thought I knew a lot about you, but I want to make sure this is accurate. So when you got your Super Bowl ring, players get their names inscribed on their Super Bowl ring. I heard that you had Weapon X put on your Super
Weapon
Bowl
X,
ring.
baby.
Is that true? And if so, why? So you're smiling, so it is true.
Weapon X, baby. It's Weapon X. I had to get Weapon X his props, man. See, those conversations I was having with some of these guys, like it was me talking, but I
Yeah.
was giving them Weapon X secrets. You know what I mean? So
Okay.
I had to put Weapon X on the ring, brother. Yeah, Weapon X, man. He was a part of that, brother. He was a part of that.
Hey, when you walk into Lincoln Financial Field and you see that number 20 is one of only 9 numbers that the Philadelphia Eagles organization has retired in more than 80 years, what comes to mind?
It's a very humbling thing. It's extremely humbling thing. I think about myself from that young boy growing up in Jacksonville, Florida, from that young cat's eyes of not knowing if he was going to be able to make it out of Jacksonville, out of the neighborhood, or if he was going to be able to survive even in college. I had some coaches saying that I wasn't going to do what I needed to do in college to even stay there. Of even how I got to college, I got to Clemson because Clemson wanted my teammate, and he said if I come there, Brian got to come. He has to come with me. That's Clemson. So, and I didn't know that then. I know it now.
Right.
I didn't know it, but that's how I got to Clemson. And so, coming from that perspective, I haven't always been the dude. It wasn't supposed to be me. I've said this a gazillion times. It wasn't supposed to be me. It was supposed to be somebody else in the neighborhood. It was supposed to be even my brother. He was the star of the household for a long period of time. It was supposed to be somebody else. And so when I look at things through that lens, then I see, here I am, Brian Dawkins has his jersey up there with these great dudes, man. That's extremely humbling. Extremely humbling.
So I'm going to talk one more topic with you about football before we move on to what you're doing now. But I'm going to say one thing, and then I'm going to let you finish this. Brian Dawkins, Hall of Famer, forever etched in the annals in the House of Football Legends. And you would say,
wow. Wow. when I hear, and you know me, like I don't say stuff.
Right.
When I see on the 100, they had the 100th anniversary little picture that they put up on social media, right? And you see me there. I see myself on there clapping. I'm like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
I'm up there with these dudes, man. Like I'm up there with, Jerry Rice. And so I still must see myself in that light. I don't. So when you say what you just said and Hall of Fame and gold jacket ring, it's still hard for me to grasp and truly believe that seriously that it's me that you're talking about.
Right.
It really is. Man.
I know you get emotional about it, but I had to bring it up because you and I have had a lot of heart-to-heart discussions about life, conducting yourself as a man, as a father figure, as a husband. And a lot of people don't know, and I didn't learn until a few years after I really got to know you, that everything about Brian Dawkins is about passion and emotions. And I know that you wear your emotions on your sleeve. And I know this next topic we're going to talk about is a very serious topic, a very emotional topic with you, mental health. It has been well documented, the battles, the demons you have fought much of your adult life. And we've talked about how football may have contributed to some of those demons that you have dealt with, but you have created the Brian Dawkins Impact Foundation. Can you tell me what that's all about?
Yes. So the Brian Dawkins Impact Foundation, it is the brainchild of someone that never thought that he would have a foundation. That's where it came from. I never thought I would always give to other organizations, or I would join or be the ambassador for other organizations to get finances to, whether it be juvenile diabetes. I've done stuff for Burn Prevention Foundation. I mean, I've done stuff, let my name to be used to gather information, or send out information to bless people and to get donations. So and I've given myself, me and my family, we've given. But as I really begin to think about how can the message that I've been blessed to grasp by reading the Word of God, being the man that I am, and going through the things that I'm going through, how can I reach more? I'm only one individual. I can only do so much as being one individual. How can I reach more? And it was brought to me by a good friend of mine. A foundation is a great way to do that.
Yep.
Prayed about it. And so I said, you know what? Yes, let's do it. Let's do it. And so the Brian Dawkins Foundation is to bless as many people as possible with the hope, the resources, and the knowledge that they need to help them out of life situations that they maybe find themselves in. And so the first part of it was going to be towards single moms, because I've seen a plethora of dudes growing up that didn't have a dad in the house. I was blessed to have my father in my household. And so I know how his presence blessed me. It kept me in check, having that voice, that strong voice. My dad is a very patient man. He's not someone who's yelling and cursing. He's a very, very patient man. But I knew with certain things that I couldn't do, right?
Right.
So my friends, a couple of them, two of them in particular, both of them lost their life to the streets. Neither one of them had a father. Some of the things that they were asking me to do, I was like, no, I can't do that, because I knew, once again, I talked about the team, right? I didn't want to let somebody down. Like in my household, I don't want to let my dad, my dad and my mom, I don't want to let them down. So I had that, my dad and my household, that I did not want to let him down, and I didn't want to get in trouble either. That's the other thing. But some of those gentlemen didn't have that. So they went out and was doing a whole bunch of stuff all over the place, and it cost them their lives. And so that's where it was going to go first. But then when I had the speech at the Hall of Fame, I began to get so many DMs from men about how that speech blessed them, how that speech helped them to make decisions to go get help. And so I began to pray about, so as I come out with this foundation, how do you want me to attack it? And so the first part of the foundation has changed from just being single moms to going after your cerebral wellness. So I teamed up with Everfi. Everfi is a company based out of Washington. They have a bunch of different headquarters, but they have the home base in Washington. And what they do is they've come up with a bunch of curriculum about not just cerebral wellness or mental health, but they have financial literacy and some other things they do. But what happened is we came together, we talked about how we can do some things to get to schools, to get it in front of some young adults, to give them the tools that they need to help orchestrate life or go through life. Certain things that I had to deal with that I may have not had to deal with had I had some of the coping mechanisms that are taught in these sessions.
Right.
So that's how it started. That's how it changed. And now we're just looking to continue to grow and continue to give to the different places that we're blessed to be.
That's awesome, man. When you first revealed a few years ago what you were going through with mental health, and you made it public, and I was looking at your Twitter page and saw all the people responding to you about how they were going through things, and it's helping them just to hear somebody of your stature openly admit that you are battling this every day and winning, and giving pointers and tips on how to win and combat depression and anxiety. When you've sat back and talked to people about the mental health aspect, and you've read some of the comments that people have gone through, that's got to hit you, man. I mean, that's emotional. That's got to hit you that, you're not alone in this fight. We're not alone in this struggle. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. And that's the thing about coming out mentioning it or saying it. Because
Yeah.
I had so many people going into the Hall of Fame that it was like nothing ever goes wrong for you, dog. Like you're a Hall of Famer,
Uh-huh.
you get all these things. I'm like, no. That's the part of the truth. There's so many things that have happened that I've had to push through, to persevere through, to grow through. And so this is a mindset thing. It had to be a mindset change for me to do things a different way, to think about life a different way, to have different things that I can do on a daily basis, yes, but also things that when things aren't, the daily basis things aren't coping or they're not helping
Right.
or they're not getting the job done. It's other things that I can then go into from a spiritual aspect as well to help me persevere and push through anything.
Mm-hmm.
For those who are spiritual, one of the things is fasting.
Yep.
When really, if I'm at my wits end and I don't have the answer, I'm fasting. I'm not talking about fasting to lose weight. I'm talking about fasting. That means fasting from food,
Yep.
drinking nothing but water, and fasting from this.
Yep.
Fasting from media, fasting from TV. Like anything that I'm looking at for that day, that time that I'm fasting, it's going to be scripture based. It's going to be spiritually based or motivational based. And what that does is it helps to bring my flesh back under control. Like when your feelings are such that you feel like you're losing control of them and they begin to dictate the path that you take, that's not a good thing. We're supposed to have feelings, yes. They are not supposed to be dictating where we go.
Right.
So in those moments, if breathing doesn't get it, if meditation doesn't get it, if reading the word doesn't get it, then my resort is to go to fasting so that I can help myself in those moments to be able to quiet that flesh, quiet my emotions down so I can hear spiritually what I need to do. What is the next step for me to take? So these are things that I've developed over many, many years, man. It's specific things that I do every day. I pray, read, meditate every day in the morning. That's the first thing that I do when I get up. And during this time of COVID, I've also been giving out per day a scripture, and I put it on each one of my social media accounts. It's called Fighting Words. Fighting Words. And that's a word that I've grasped that morning that I'm going to help me fight that day. If I need it or not. If I need it, I got it. If I don't need it, boom, you got it. You can use it if you need it. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
But what it also does, it strengthens me because I'm spending time with the Heavenly Father in the morning. And then throughout the day, I'm constantly checking my emotional and my spiritual energy level, right? Are my emotions overtaking me spiritually, or I'm feeling overwhelmed with feelings? Then I have to begin to speak those things. I have to be able to say things, say scriptures, say those fighting words, or say some people call it self-talk. My self-talk has to be above par. I have to begin to speak things, speak how blessed I really am, how blessed my family. Look at all my kids are in the house. All of them are safe. So I have to speak those positive things that I have going on in my life and not just thinking about the negatives.
Why do you think so many people won't get help? There's so many people that battle depression and anxiety. Why do you think so many people are in denial first and foremost, and others who finally realize what they're going through, but they won't get help?
We have especially as men, we have there's a mindset that you just deal with it.
That's right.
Whatever comes your way to be a man, you just deal with it. Suck it up, rub dirt on it, and you deal with it.
That's right.
And for some things, you can do it that way. Yes, absolutely. But there's other things you cannot because you don't have the answer to it. And when you don't learn how to deal with it, what you do is you then push it deep down inside, and you never talk about it with anybody. And what that does, I have a couple of different examples for me. The way it has blessed me over the years to think about it. It's like when you have a house, and in one particular room, you throw a whole bunch of crap in there.
That's right.
Like old food and old, soda, whatever the case, whatever you've been consuming, you throw it in that room and you never go back in there. Well, you clean up the rest of the house, but you don't clean up that room. And you tell people, no, don't go in there. Don't go in there. No, I don't need you in there. I got that. I got that. But what happens is that room begins to stink and it begins to come out into the other parts of the room. Mm-hmm. That's what happens to that stuff that we try to bind it and keep it down. It begins to affect other areas of our lives. So when I used to be patient, I'm no longer as patient as I used to be. You know why? Because that stink in that room, because of that pain that I'm holding and trying to hold on to, I don't have the patience that I used to have because I'm spending energy on that one room. So like different ways of viewing things help me to understand that I have to talk to somebody. I have to talk to people. And it's not always a doctor. Sometimes I call them blessed pack. I have four dudes and one woman that I can call at any time to talk about anything that's going on with me. That's it. I have, and I that's a freedom that I possess. I know I'm not alone. So even if I thought I was alone, now I know I'm not alone because I have each one of them cats in this phone that I can call at any time.
My final question to you, my friend, because if I sat here much longer, I could talk to you all day. And next thing I know, you'll be trying to send me a bill for the time that we've sat here and chatted. My final question to you is this. I'm looking over your left shoulder, and I've heard you say that on your social media platforms and public speaking time and time again. Blessed by the best. What does that mean to you?
And blessed by the best there's a surface meaning and there's a deep meaning to it. The surface meaning is I'm blessed by the best. Mm-hmm. The best who have ever have done it, I'm blessed by. Mm-hmm. The best who have ever done it was the one who created this earth. Yep. And that's who I'm blessed by. Every day that I wake up, you see, the Lord tells us his grace is brand new every morning. Every morning we wake up, got fresh grace for that day. So that's the first I'm blessed by, but also I have been blessed by different people along the way. He has blessed me with the best at different periods of my life. And so whether it be my coach in college or my coach in high school who helped tutor me for a while, it's been different people that have blessed me along the way to help me be the person that I am. But also the deepest is when people say that to me, when they say, "Hey, Brian, what's going on?" I say, "Man, I'm blessed by the best." Mm-hmm. What usually happens is that person will, yeah, I'm blessed too. So it gets them to think about where they are and that they are absolutely blessed. And so it's a whole bunch of things. And it's something that I pretty much say on a consistent basis to anybody who asks me, "Hey, what's going on, brother?" I'm blessed by the best, man. Or I just say I'm blessed. Whatever the case may be.
Amen. And you are one special individual. You are a special friend to me. I can't thank you enough for spending some time with us here on Gunn On One, the podcast. Many blessings to you in future endeavors. You don't need my blessing. You're already blessed by the best.
I always need blessings, but always need prayers, baby.
You know I love you like family. And please tell Connie I said hello. I appreciate it.
Do.
All right.
Appreciate you.
You have been locked on to this edition of Gunn On One, the podcast, from my special friend and Hall of Famer, Brian Dawkins. I'm Derrick Gunn, and as I tell you people each and every week, be blessed. And more importantly, be a blessing to somebody else. So long, everybody. Gunn On One is a production of D-Gun Enterprises in Pederson Square Garden. Elvin Shabazian and Wes Pendleton are the executive producers on behalf of Pederson Square Garden. Lead producer is Derrick Gunn. Associate producer is John McNeil. Sound design, mixing, and mastering by Elvin Shabazian. Original music by Weatherman. For more information about the podcast, visit GunnOnOne.com. And please don't forget to subscribe and give us a positive rating if you're feeling the show. Thank you.